They thought he would break. 3 shadows closing in, footsteps crunching the frozen gravel behind the gym. The air smelled like rust and cigarette smoke. "Yo, Detroit!" one of them hissed, voice sharp with that fake confidence bullies wear like armor. Kareem didn't flinch. His eyes flicked once, left to right, the way a fighter measures exits before a strike. He wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble has a way of hunting kids like him. One hand shoved his chest, another grabbed his backpack strap. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, impact. A thud so loud it silenced their laughter. One boy lay flat on the cold ground, gasping for air. The others froze. They hadn't expected this. They thought the new black kid would fold, cower, beg. Instead, they stared into the eyes of someone who had been sharpened by survival long before stepping into their polished suburban halls. What nobody told them is this: quiet doesn't mean weak. Stillness doesn't mean soft. Kareem Tolliver carried the weight of streets that raised him, scars invisible but etched deep into the way he moved, breathed, calculated, and when you pressed him into a corner, he didn't crumble. He revealed the side of himself that terrified cowards most: discipline. The fight was over before it began, but the story was just beginning. Because when a boy like Kareem refuses to play the role they wrote for him, the system, the students, the very walls of the school, they all shift against him. This isn't just a story about fists behind a gym wall. It's about America's invisible stage where race becomes a weapon and silence becomes gasoline. Watch closely, because what happens to Kareem Tolliver is bigger than one fight. It's the anatomy of how racism breathes, not through slurs shouted in the open, but through whispers, rumors, and the quiet rewriting of truth. And tonight, I'm going to show you how a boy's refusal to bow turned into a war he never signed up for. So lean in. Don't blink. Because the moment that first punch landed, Kareem's life stopped belonging to him and started belonging to everyone desperate to twist his story. The first time Kareem walked through the front doors of Millstone High, nobody cared. No whispers, no double takes, just another name on the attendance sheet. But invisibility has layers, and for him, it wasn't a shield, it was a target painted in silence. His hoodie was faded, his shoes second-hand, and his walk had that cautious rhythm of someone who'd learned to read danger before it ever spoke. He kept his head down, eyes scanning, cataloging everything. This wasn't Detroit. This was polished suburbia. Here the boys wore brand-new varsity jackets, their sneakers spotless, their laughs carrying the confidence of kids who never had to worry about the rent being late. At first, it was small things, a look that lingered too long on his shoes, a whispered joke that ended in muffled laughter, someone accidentally bumping him in the hallway without an apology. These weren't just moments, they were tests. And Kareem passed them by, staying quiet, keeping his distance, never giving them what they wanted. But silence. Silence is dangerous. Because when you refuse to play the part, they'll rewrite your role for you. In the cafeteria, the real game began. Kareem sat alone, tray balanced carefully, moving slow like a soldier crossing enemy ground. That's when Brock Simmons noticed him. Tall, broad shoulders, varsity jacket, the golden boy of Millstone High. Brock wasn't just a football star. He was the self-appointed king of the juniors, the kind of boy who never learned the word no. He walked over with 2 shadows at his side, eyes narrowed with that predatory amusement kids like him perfect early. "Yo, what is that? You bring that from home or something?" Laughter erupted around the tables, but not everyone joined in. Some looked away, uncomfortable, but not enough to speak. Kareem didn't answer. He just ate, slowly, calmly, like he was somewhere else, somewhere far beyond their reach. But that silence, that refusal to play, burned deeper than any insult, because nothing enrages the insecure more than being ignored. And from that moment, Brock Simmons decided the quiet new kid wasn't just another student. He was a problem. And here's the truth you need to understand. Racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles, shakes your hand, and waits until the moment is perfect to strike. That cafeteria laugh was the spark. What followed would be the fire. It started with a tray of spaghetti and a laugh. But fire spreads fast in dry halls, and Kareem's silence became fuel for the kind of boys who thrived on attention. By the third week, the whispers followed him everywhere. A shove in the hallway when no teachers were watching. Books knocked off his desk in science class. The word charity case scrawled across his locker in cheap marker. Small things, petty things. But every cut was meant to slice deeper than skin. The students didn't see it as racism. They called it just joking, just hazing. But the truth was sharper. Every move was about reminding Kareem that he didn't belong, that his skin, his silence, his shoes made him an outsider. And in schools like Millstone, outsiders weren't just noticed, they were hunted. At home, Kareem carried the weight like lead in his chest. His mother worked double shifts, barely home long enough to ask how his day went. So when he stepped into Uncle Reggie's gym, a place that smelled of sweat, leather, and iron, the weight shifted. Reggie didn't need explanations. He saw it in the boy's eyes. "Let it out," he said, tossing him gloves. And Kareem did. His fists cut the air in sharp arcs, each strike landing against pads with precision that came from years of discipline. Not rage, not chaos, but control. His uncle's voice echoed through every drill. Never swing wild. Ever fight angry. You fight smart, or you don't fight at all. That's what the bullies didn't understand. Kareem wasn't dangerous because he was violent. He was dangerous because he was patient, because he had been trained to channel the storm without drowning in it. But when you're black, patience gets mistaken for arrogance, and silence is seen as defiance. At Millstone, his refusal to snap made him more of a threat than any punch ever could. The rumors shifted. He's got a record. He got kicked out of his old school for fighting. Lies, easy lies, repeated enough to feel like truth. And the teachers, they didn't confront him. They just started watching closer, waiting for him to confirm the story already written in their heads. But here's the part they didn't count on. Kareem wasn't just carrying fists. He was carrying memory. Every lesson, every warning, every fight he never allowed himself to start. And that patience, the kind they mistook for weakness, was about to break the script they'd written for him. Friday afternoon. The wind cut sharp across the parking lot, students rushing toward buses, the sky the color of dull steel. Kareem stayed behind, stacking chairs with the custodian, taking his time, moving quiet. He thought maybe, just maybe, he'd make it home without incident. But predators don't let prey choose the exit. By the dumpsters, Brock waited. Varsity jacket zipped tight, Logan and Ty flanking him like shadows. Hands stuffed in pockets, faces set in that fake casualness that fools no one. Kareem spotted them, but he didn't change pace. He kept walking, backpack over one shoulder, each step deliberate. "Yo, Tolliver," Brock called. Kareem stopped 10 feet away. Silence hung like frost between them. "What? You think you're smart, don't you? Just ignoring me every time I talk." Kareem's voice was low, steady. "I didn't come here for you. You didn't me here at all. You got dropped here. Charity case." Brock took one step closer, breath steaming in the cold. Kareem narrowed his eyes. "What do you want?" Logan moved first. A shove to the chest, sloppy, impulsive. Kareem didn't budge, his voice cut like a blade. "Don't." Brock laughed. "Go on, Logan. Show him what's up." Another shove. This time a wild punch thrown high. Kareem slipped inside his range with the kind of precision that only comes from discipline. One twist, one sweep, and Logan hit the pavement with a smack that echoed off the gym wall. Ty froze. Brock's smile faltered. "You done?" Kareem asked. But Brock couldn't stop now. Pride is louder than reason. He lunged, big and reckless, thinking size would make up for skill. It didn't. Kareem ducked under, pivoted, and dropped an elbow clean into Brock's ribs. The golden boy staggered, breath knocked from his chest, knees bending like the weight of the world just landed on him. It lasted 12 seconds, that's all. Then silence. Logan groaning against the dumpster, Brock on one knee clutching his side. Ty with his hands raised, muttering, "Chill, man, chill." And Kareem? He just stood there, calm, breathing steady. No celebration, no swagger, just stillness. But here's the truth most people never see. The fight is never the fight. The real battle is what comes after, the lies, the whispers, the way the story gets stolen from the one who lived it. And for Kareem, this was only the beginning. By Monday morning, Millstone High wasn't the same. The story of what happened behind the gym spread faster than wildfire, mutating with every retelling. In one version, Kareem snapped without warning, dropping Logan and Brock like they were nothing. In another, he pulled some kind of street move, the kind you only learn if you've been locked up. Not one of those kids mentioned who swung first. Not one of them said Kareem tried to walk away. When Kareem walked down the hallway, people shifted, not out of respect, out of unease, out of fear. In the cafeteria, the table that used to erupt with Brock's Joan, Kes stayed oddly quiet when Kareem walked in. He sat in the back like always, but this time it was different. Now they weren't ignoring him. They were avoiding him. Silence stretched louder than laughter. Brock, bruised ego wrapped tight around his ribs, wasn't done. He retold the story again and again, casting himself the victim. "Dude's psycho," he told anyone who'd listen. "Came at us like it was a movie scene." He leaned into the lie, exaggerating every detail until the crowd had no choice but to pick a side. And in a school like Millstone, the king's word carried weight. Teachers noticed too. Their eyes lingered longer when Kareem raised his hand, their smiles tightened. In gym class, coach didn't even pair him with anyone, just told him to run drills alone, like he was some kind of weapon waiting to go off. In history class, a girl leaned to her friend and whispered, "He's dangerous." She didn't even look ashamed when Kareem caught her staring. At home, Kareem dropped his bag by the door, shoulders tense. Uncle Reggie muted the TV. "Rough day?" he asked. Kareem didn't answer. He didn't have to. Reggie studied him, then said, "Listen, when you defend yourself and win, people don't see the truth. They see strength. And strength scares the weak, especially the loud ones." Kareem wanted to believe him, but deep down he knew the truth was worse. He wasn't being punished for fighting. He was being punished for not fitting the story they wanted him to play. And here's where you need to lean in. This is how racism moves in silence. Not through chains or slurs, but through whispers, rumors, and a system that doesn't need proof to decide who the threat is. The fight should have ended in 12 seconds. But by Tuesday, it was everywhere. A blurry video appeared online, grainy footage of the moment Kareem flipped Logan and dropped Brock. The clip cut off right before Logan swung. First, intentional, cropped like evidence in a rigged trial. The caption read, "He thinks he's in a movie. Scared yet?" And underneath, Brock's crew fueled the fire. "He's not normal. Dude's dangerous. Expel him before it's too late." The comments spiraled. Some cheered Kareem on. Most didn't. "He doesn't belong here. He's trouble. Watch his eyes. That's not a kid. That's a threat." Overnight, the story wasn't about a cafeteria joke or a parking lot ambush. It was about the black boy from Detroit who was too violent for Millstone High. The next morning, 2 uniformed security officers stood by the front entrance. They weren't always there. Their eyes scanned every kid who walked in, but lingered just a little too long on Kareem. Inside, the principal's voice echoed through the loudspeaker. "A formal review is underway regarding last week's altercation." Formal review. The words sank like a blade. By Wednesday, Kareem was pulled from class. A counselor asked if he ever felt angry. The question wasn't concern. It was a searchlight, waiting for him to slip. In the cafeteria, whispers turned into avoidance. Tables cleared when he walked past. Some kids smirked. Others stayed quiet. Nobody sat beside him. At home, his mother got the call. District hearing. Thursday morning. They wanted Kareem and a guardian present. Uncle Reggie took the day off, jaw tight as he read the notice. "They're not after the truth," he said. "They're after a story that makes them feel safe, and you're the villain in it." Thursday came. A long rectangular table. On one side, the principal, a board member, and the head of student discipline. On the other, Kareem and Reggie, a folder of written statements clutched tight. Brock wasn't there. He didn't need to be. His lies already haunted the room. The principal folded his hands. "We've had several concerns raised about your behavior, Kareem. We need to determine if you pose an ongoing safety threat to our student body." Safety threat. 2 words heavy enough to end a future. And all Kareem could think was, 12 seconds. That's all it took for them to decide I was dangerous. The conference room was cold, sterile, lit by buzzing fluorescents. Kareem sat stiff in his chair, hands folded on the table. Uncle Reggie sat beside him, arms crossed, jaw locked tight. Across from them, the panel looked down their noses, their files already stacked with suspicion. The principal started slow, measured. "Kareem, this is not a criminal trial. We're simply here to assess your conduct." Reggie muttered, "Then why does it feel like one?" No one laughed. The board member leaned forward. "We've had multiple reports of violent behavior. Students are afraid. Teachers, too. One student claims you threatened him before the fight." "That's a lie," Kareem said flatly. His voice didn't crack, but the weight behind it was raw. "Be careful with your tone," the principal warned, like Kareem's calm was somehow more threatening than anger. Reggie leaned in. "Do you have any statements from kids who saw the whole thing? Or just the ones Brock coached?" The room went quiet. They didn't answer. Then Kareem spoke again, slower this time. "I didn't start it. I walked away. They came after me." The counselor across the table tilted her head, almost like she was studying a specimen. "But why do you think they targeted you, Kareem?" He looked her dead in the eye. "Because I'm not supposed to be here. Not in this school. Not in this zip code. And the second I fought back." He paused, breath steady. "I stopped being a student to you. I became a problem." That silence was heavy. Uncomfortable, it pressed down on the room like gravity. And this, right here, is where I need you listening closely. Because hidden inside every system are these moments where the mask slips, and the truth becomes clear. It was never about safety. It was about control. Remember this phrase, and if you're still with me, type it twice in the comments so I know you see the big as picture. The fight was never the fight. Reggie squeezed Kareem's shoulder. "We're done here," he said firmly, standing before the meeting could drag on, because he knew no explanation, no proof, no truth would ever be enough for people who already decided who the villain was. But walking out, Kareem understood something sharp and permanent. The battle wasn't over. It had only shifted battlegrounds. By Friday, Millstone wasn't just a school against him. It was a town. The fight bled into the neighborhood, carried by whispers, screenshots, and the kind of gossip that spreads faster than fact. Parents spoke in checkout lines, that boy from Detroit, the one who hurt those kids. Some tilted their heads with pity, most tightened their lips with fear. Kareem felt it when he walked home. Curtains shifted. Lawns grew quiet as he passed. At the corner store, the cashier's smile was thinner than usual, her eyes darting to the security camera above the register. He hadn't stolen a thing in his life, but the suspicion clung to him anyway, like a shadow he couldn't shake. On social media, the story twisted darker. Accounts he'd never heard of posted side-by-sides, Kareem's school photo next to mugshots of strangers who looked vaguely like him. Captions read, "See the pattern?" Brock's crew doubled down, retweeting, laughing, stoking the fire. By the end of the week, Kareem wasn't just a kid in a fight. He was a symbol, a threat in the eyes of people who'd never spoken his name before. At home, Kareem stared at himself in the bathroom mirror. His reflection didn't look different. Same brown skin, same tired eyes, but he could feel the shift. He wasn't being seen as a person anymore. He was being seen as a headline, as an archetype. Uncle Reggie knocked on the door. "Don't let them write your story for you," he said through the wood. Kareem whispered back, almost to himself, "But what if they already did?" That night, Reggie turned off the lights in the living room, speaking into the dark. "This isn't just about you throwing hands in a parking lot. It's about a system that as its villains, it needs them, and once it picks you, it doesn't matter what you did, it matters what they can say you might do." Kareem sat quiet, listening. He realized then that the fight had grown too big to win with fists. This wasn't about bruises anymore, it was about narrative, and in a place like Millstone, narrative was power, and Kareem, he had none left. Monday morning, Kareem walked into school expecting more stares, more silence. He got that, and something else. On his locker, taped with shaky handwriting, was a folded note. "I saw the whole thing. They jumped you. If you need me to tell it, I will. No name, just a signature. L." For the first time in days, the weight on his chest loosened. Someone had seen. Someone was willing to speak, even if they were afraid to put their full name down. At lunch, he noticed a small group watching him, not with fear, but with quiet defiance. A girl from his history class, a kid from band, even a freshman he barely knew. They didn't sit with him, not yet. But their eyes said it clear. We know the truth. That afternoon, Reggie marched into the school office with Kareem. He placed a thick manila folder on the table, printed screenshots, witness messages, even the clip Brock's crew had edited, next to the uncut version someone leaked showing Logan's swing. "You wanted evidence?" Reggie's voice was steady. "Here it is. You don't get to write him off without the whole story." The principal adjusted his glasses, uncomfortable. The counselor frowned. For the first time, their certainty cracked. Kareem didn't speak much in that meeting. He didn't need to. The folder spoke for him. And when they left the office, Reggie put a hand on his shoulder. "See? Truth may not scream as loud as lies, but it lasts longer." That night, Kareem did something he hadn't dared yet. He opened his phone camera and recorded himself. Not a fight, not a defense. Just his voice. "My name is Kareem. I didn't start that fight, but even if I had, why is it so easy for you to believe I'm the threat? Why do you see me and think danger before you think student? Before you think kid?" He posted it with shaking hands. Hours later, the video had hundreds of views. By morning, thousands. Comments poured in, some cruel, yes, but many weren't. "I believe you. This happened at my school too. They always flip the story." For the first time, Kareem saw something powerful. Maybe the fight wasn't just his anymore. Maybe it belonged to everyone who'd been painted the villain before their story was told.